Alright, what's good? I'm Toxicro Gaming. I'm gonna be running BFBB any percent on my Xbox. It's just like the original Xbox. Could be a good time as the final run. So the run's gonna start whenever I click no after in this prompt here. So in 3, 2, 1, and we're gonna start. Alright, so we start very simple. We're just gonna collect 50 shinies. A very simple run. Start. I missed a shiny already. Whatever. So we're gonna come over here, and we're gonna collect the spatula for collecting all the shinies. Now after this, we're gonna exit the pineapple, and we're gonna do something called disabling the hand. And this is basically going to let us go out of bounds. And it's actually very useful. There's a category where we don't disable the hand, and it's about 10 minutes slower. So we basically enter the taxi pad once, and then we get grabbed again into the taxi pad. And we're in the jellyfish fields. So in this first part, we're just going to be getting some shinies. We want to have 49 shinies when we're done with this, optimally. It's okay to have a little bit less, but like, getting none basically isn't an option. Especially in the route that I run. So we're just gonna get these tikis there on the way. And then we're gonna go and collect the sock and get the spatula and drown. And then we can basically overlap the spatula animation. And we can warp to the next part of the game, and we're going to do something called hammer skip. On hammer skip, we're essentially just going to do a damage boost up to a checkpoint trigger. And then we're going to die so that we respawn at the checkpoint, and it just skips having to walk up this big hill. So it saves a pretty fair amount of time. So we have to manipulate the hammer bot onto the rock, and then jump on his head, and get a damage boost up here. We're gonna respawn up here, and we're gonna get the spatula that's behind the gate. Essentially, we can spin the Duplicatotron and the button at the same time to collect the spatula. And we're gonna move on to Dilemma, and there's a trick called Pat's Hammer. It's essentially another damage boost, but we're going to use a bash, and so we call it a bash boost. And I was actually having troubles with this trick some time ago, but I've learned it and become way better with it. So we're just going to get all the tikis on the slide and 2 socks, and we're going to head on to the trick. Got the sock. Now we're going to get a checkpoint, and we're going to drown. And this skips one of the animations that plays. Or like a cutscene. So this is Pat's hammer. We line up. Unfortunately, the bot slammed early, so I have to drown and try again. Not a big deal. So we get the damage boost, and then we do this. We got a spatula. Now we're going to move on to Bikini Bottom. And we have to avoid Mr. Krabs here, because we're setting up for something called Krabs duping. And so by doing so, we're going to jump on Squidward's doorknob and collect underwear. And get the spatula on top of Spongebob's pineapple. Next we're going to go into downtown, but we're going to start with the cutscene skip. Usually you have to like watch a cutscene whenever you enter a new area of like an opening. And we save like 5 seconds time we do one.
Downtown.
We're in downtown, and we're gonna get some shinies and do Tiki's Go Boom. This is probably like one of the easiest parts, other than the very beginning. So we're just gonna go between Tiki stacks and push some buttons. Got the cannon, push. Get some more shinies. Jump here. So we get about 1,300 shinies by the time we're done with this area. Or at least with this spatula, because we're gonna have like 3,000 by the time we're done with the early game. And we're basically gonna talk to Mr. Krabs and trade the spatula or the shinies in for spatulas. Got the spatulas, so now we're gonna go on to the next trick called SDJ. And we're gonna collect a shiny stack and some stocks on the way. What we're gonna do, spin the spot, spin them into the stacks, collect all of this. And then SDJ is essentially like, sponge balls have weird mechanics, and so we can get on top of a tiki stack that rises and store vertical momentum. We essentially go flying. So we transform on top of the stack. We buffer. Sometimes it's kind of difficult, but we got the buffer. Now we drop down and we're going to get the spatula. There's another trick similar to this, and we do it over a load, and it's called VMS. You essentially are still storing your vertical momentum. You're pressing A on a certain frame whenever you load in. It's just SpongeBob mechanics are just really weird in this game. And we actually abuse the fact that it's not a perfect mechanic. Like, it isn't rehydrated. So now we're gonna set up for VMS, collect some shinies on the way. We want to have like 1,800 or so whenever we go on to the stack up here. We have a little over, so we're doing very good. Transform. And we're gonna go and press A on the first frame we load in. I missed it, unfortunately, because I guess the buffer was bad. But we just tried again, no problem. We should get it this time. We go flying in the air, and we're trying to get on top of Shady Shoals. But we just barely have enough height because we spin early. And if we didn't spin, we'd essentially like go infinitely high for like 20 seconds, and then we'd drop down. And it would take like 3 minutes, or not 3 minutes, but like 2 minutes. So we collect some shinies, get a sock, and then we're in the tree dome. In this part, we essentially are just defeating some robots that took over the tree dome. For anyone who doesn't really know the story of this game, Plankton has basically designed some robots, and he thought they'd obey him, but they apparently don't. And so they took over Bikini Bottom. And so now we have to basically defeat all the robots and get some spatula. Alright, so now we're going to set up for Rollbuck. This is another example of like the SpongeBob being weird. We can essentially get a bunch of momentum from hitting this wall to clear an invisible wall that I missed. Like, I'm for whatever reason missing everything. So we're gonna come over here, clear the wall, and then jump to the chum bucket and get on top of that. So now we're gonna go into the chum bucket, and we're gonna get the spat that's you're supposed to do wall jumps for. But we can do some weird thing where we like bash on the side of the pipe. And we can collect the spatula. Now we're gonna warp to on top of the chum bucket and get the warp into the Krusty Krab. Then we're gonna warp there, and we're gonna do the fight inside the Krusty Krab. Because just like the Tree Dome, they took over the Krusty Krab. So there's no business going on. So we essentially have to clear it out so that there can be business. And it's okay to take damage here. You just don't want to die, basically. We're a little low on shinies, so we have to collect some. That's not really a big deal. As I'm gonna collect some, whatever. Two more. Alright, so we're gonna go and we're gonna trade to Mr. Krabs now. We can skip an animation by just doing some weird text box stuff. And then we're on to Dream. And we're gonna do a trick called Oil Skip. It's the same thing as Pat's Hammer, except just a different setup. So we're doing another bash boot. We have a bad animation, but it's okay. Because I like having the bad animation. So we have to jump and we have to clear that big space to get to the other side and collect the spatula. And then we have to walk to Patrick's Rock and collect another one. Now we're going to do something called Super Bounce Skip. The spike blocks have really weird mechanics, and we're actually going to use them later in the run too. But for this one, we jump on the side of one of them. And we can actually clear a big area of the level with them. So we go down the slide, we get momentum, jump off the side of the block, and we can use this trampoline to go on top of Squidward's house. And then we enter into Squidward's Dream after that. So we're gonna enter into Squidward's Dream, then we're gonna warp down to Mr. Krabs and talk to him. And we've done duping by not talking to him earlier and then talking to him now. We're gonna enter into the real Squidward's house, not Squidward's Dream. And we're gonna destroy everything and we're gonna jump a lot. And he's gonna give us a sock and we get a spatula for doing this. Where we annoyed Squidward. Now we're gonna exit Squidward's house and we're gonna go on to Poseidon. So talk to Patrick, get a sock, enter Poseidon. So in Poseidon, we're gonna do some manipulations. This is like 3.5 minutes of a bunch of nothing. So if you need to take a break, just come back in like 3 minutes.
Robots left itself vulnerable. Great barrier reef.
We essentially go to the middle because some weird thing allows Sandy to jump early when we go to the middle. And then we're gonna do manipulations in phase 2. I do my manipulations a little different than most people do them. Just, I go in different spots because I find it really consistent. But we're essentially gonna stand in a corner, jump to a pair of underwear, and then we're gonna go to another corner, and then we're gonna let the rest play out. Because Sandy has this clothesline move in phases 2 and 3, and if you don't manipulate right, she can like take time walking to one of the ropes, and it loses like 10 seconds. If you don't manip in the run at all.
The robot's losing its head. What a shocking takedown by Patrick!
By the way, phase 1 was like Spongebob was supposed to be fighting Sandy one-on-one, and then Patrick like really wanted to fight, so he comes in and fights. And then once he like does his phase, he's like, now it's your turn again, Spongebob. And then Spongebob's gonna like end the fight. Kind of weird.
Nice.
But Patrick is basically like a little kid.
Thing move by Patrick.
So we come over here. This. And we're done with the second phase. The third phase is more or less the same thing, just with Spongebob, and ending is different.
Such an electrifying match.
So it's a very simple fight. Robo Patrick is also very simple, but it's like not super easy. Like this one is way too easy.
The old clothesline move.
So we're gonna stand in a different spot for the manips in this part, and then we're gonna go and bash, takes damage, and then come and do it again.
Filled with openings. Oh, what an uppercut!
Yeah, the fish announcer is pretty good. The fish announcer, they actually gave him new lines and rehydrated. So in the Robo Patrick fight, he talks about like bowling, and I think that's pretty cool.
Nice move by Spongebob. This match is just about over.
But he's basically just like, he says some very generic lines. You hear him multiple times throughout each fight. And we're gonna bash, and with that, we're done with Poseidon. Now we're gonna go into Goo Lagoon. We're gonna start with something called Early Towers Glide. So first we skip the cutscene in this taxi pad, and then we're gonna skip a cutscene for a monsoon. Because usually you're supposed to get a cutscene for it, but you can basically go out of bounds and skip it. Pretty cool. But yeah, the fish announcer is like really annoying. We're gonna talk to Larry. We're gonna set up and try and get something called Fat Guy Skip. I don't get it, of course, because I've only gotten it like 5 times ever. And we're gonna come up and we're gonna line up this trick, and essentially we're just getting momentum into the pole. We get a glide because of it when we slam into the pole. So we slide and we go into the rock and we slam, select the bot, or actually just spin him. I jumped way too slow and drowned, so we have to do the trick again. So we're gonna set this trick up again. I slammed too early. Go. It's alright to drown. People do it all the time. It's just whatever. So for this trick, we have to like do a fast double jump and get enough momentum. And we do a sliding bash. Now we're gonna switch to Patrick and we're gonna go and do a trick called SBA. So I would recommend turning your volume down if you're sensitive to loud noises, because it can get kind of loud on this game. And you should turn it down until you see the pause menu come up again. Because it's going to be like really loud, because we're basically abusing a skee ball machine and getting a bunch of shinies. So we're going to collect some socks and set up the trick. It's like a very simple trick, but it's also very difficult. So we have to come down and collect the tiki, and we're going to take it to the skee ball machine. Now I'm going to do a trick called 1 tiki. Most people will do 2 tiki, and most of the community would actually recommend that I do 2 tiki, but I refuse to do so. This is like a world record strat, basically. And yeah, so you come up here, you get the tiki in. My camera's kind of bad. So I have to get the tiki out and come and throw it back in. This happens like every single time, by the way. I think I'm too far forward, so I gotta try again. It's a very finicky trick, so it like takes a while to get sometimes. That time I got the wrong setup, so now I have to do it one more time. Sometimes this trick it's just like the tiki doesn't like me. But There we go, we got it. Now we're gonna come and switch to Spongebob, and we're gonna bowl, and this is when it gets loud. Well, I'm not gonna say much during this. But we're actually getting a really good rate. And then the ball popped out, of course. And then went back in. It stopped giving us a rate again. We can go and check what's going on with it in just a second. It seems like it just keeps like going in and out, so kind of awkward. So I'm gonna wait here and let it give me a rate for just a second. And then I'm gonna go. So we got a good one Tiki. We should have enough shinies when this is all done. If we don't, then oh well. Alright, we barely don't. So I can go and I can drown. Or I can like go and jump out here. And it'll give me more shinies. But yeah, there's a trigger that like it keeps going in and out of. So I should have enough shinies. We're done with one Tiki. Now we're gonna move on to a kind of slower section for about a minute. And we're gonna skip another cutscene that you have to play to get the spat here. So we have to essentially pick up this Thunder Tiki, and we have to like hit the ticket booth and get a spatula. So we collect the spatula, and now we're gonna go into caves, and we literally just walk to a spatula, and then we warp again to exit caves. You could take a box, but the box is slower on Xbox. If you're on pretty much any other version, it's faster to take the box. We'll warp to Sea Caves, and we're gonna exit, and we're gonna go on to a trick called Moat Early. So we're gonna collect the spatula, and then get a sock, and then basically we have to line up something on a pole, and then bowl a button. It's not that precise, but like, it's just enough to be annoying, in my opinion. We're gonna get some socks and tikis. Come and get on the pole. Line up. Bash. We might be a little bit forward on the pole, that's okay. But it looks like we got the trick. We did. We just lined up on a pole, and there's a button on the other side of the castle, and our bowl can hit the button. You usually have to get Patrick and throw a melon at the button. And then we could teleport back to Larry, and he gives us a spatula. Now we're gonna go and trade to Mr. Krabs. Because for whatever reason, you have to pay Mr. Krabs these shiny objects that never appear again, and he gives you golden spatulas. I would think that these shinies could be worth real money, but who knows. So we're gonna trade some spatulas, and then we're gonna go to rock bottom. I'm gonna do something called bathroom boost. This is another damage boost, like a bash boost, but it's a lot easier than oil skip and Pat's hammer. It's actually like a beginner trick you could probably get on your first try. So we're done with the crabs trades. We only need 1,500 shinies for the rest of the run. So we only go to one sand mountain slide. So we're gonna try and get the cutscene skip, which we don't get this time, as we enter rock bottom.
Welcome to the...
So now we're basically gonna make ourselves on top of the restroom. And then we're gonna get damaged by the robot twice and bash on the second one. That was a really sketchy bathroom boost. But we still made it. I'm surprised that even worked. We're gonna enter into Trench, and we're gonna do a spatula animation skip. Where we're gonna overlap a load. And then we can warp to the spat again. We're gonna do Sleepy Skip. This is yet another bash boost in the game. I got the bad damage animation, so I'm gonna get hurt again. Bash, jump, and we can actually get onto the wall. Just like the block for Super Bounce Skip, some of them have weird things whenever you have a lot of momentum. So you can jump up the side of it and then go and collect the sock, and then we go to Sand Mountain. We're gonna bowl a chuck as we collect the spatula. People tell you to like avoid the chuck and manip him. I just like bowling him because it's 100% consistent for me. Whereas the manips are not 100% consistent. We're gonna make our way around here, bowl the chuck, then come down and jump to the spat. Now we're gonna go back to Dream and use the spikes and the weird properties of the spikes to get a weird damage boost and bowl off it. We're gonna come over here and we're gonna bowl off this spike, which sometimes doesn't work because the spikes are really weird. So we're gonna come over here. We're gonna try it again. I was unfortunately too wide on my spin on my bowl, so sometimes I struggle with this trick, but like it's actually really easy if you think about the concept of it. And then we're gonna collect the spatula. Usually you have to get a rolling ball and you have to collect it like that, but now we're gonna move on to Sandy's Dream, and this is Sandy Nut. Because we jump to a big nut and there's a checkpoint trigger we can actually jump into. And then if we die, we can spawn on top of the nut and collect the spatula. And you can actually jump on the nut for no reason. Like, they didn't think you'd come down here, so we have to get a checkpoint. Then go on the slide and die in the manure over here. And we're gonna get the Texas Sponge Glide. But yeah, the nut skip is typical in runs. There's something called Fast Nut, and that's very similar to this. And that's like a tough trick, but the nut skip is just typical. Now we're gonna trade 10 socks to Patrick, which who knows why he needs the socks? He never wears them. We never hear about him using them. So now we're gonna go into Industrial Park and we're gonna fight Robo Patrick. Phase 1 is pretty bad, but whatever.
Yikes! Looks like SpongeBob's in for a rough ride.
We're literally just gonna stand in the corner and jump whenever he tries to shoot with his mouth, and then we can literally just sit here and do nothing until we have to bowl him.
That's the ticket.
We bowl him and then we do the same thing again. But yeah, Fast Nut is basically you get a cruise boost, which I'm gonna explain in just a minute, and you do like a 1-frame spin and a 1-frame bash or something. And then because like something to do with 1 frames, you keep your momentum, and it's really weird.
The robot better change tactics and fast.
Alright, so we're gonna sit here, we're gonna let him spin again, and when he stops, we're gonna bowl him.
And around you go.
I bowled a little early, but that's okay. Now we're gonna do phase 2 of Sandy. And with Sandy, we're just gonna go back and forth between these swingers. This is swing stalling. Usually people use 1, but I want to avoid this glitch called Paper Sandy, so I always use 2. it doesn't make any difference. But when he stops, we're gonna go and kick him, and then we're gonna get damaged by him. So essentially, Patrick does this vomit cutscene, and it can take like 30 seconds because he goes all the way around the map. And so if we get damaged, then we skip the cutscene and we save time. And we do this four times. I think. Actually 3. We're gonna come here and kick him again. And then we're gonna go back and get damaged again. And do the same thing as the last 2 hits we did.
One more douse with that stuff, and SpongeBob will be back in the ring. Do-si-do, and around you go.
Alright, so from this point, what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit him one last time, and phase 2 is done. Now we're gonna go to phase 3, and we get damaged once as SpongeBob. We're gonna jump and we're gonna get damaged, and thankfully that's the last time he does the vomit. Now we just have to worry about going to certain corners and like doing some weird manips so that he lands in the right place for us to bowl him in the. We don't want him bowling in the back, or we don't want him in the back because it's just bad. So by doing the manips, you guarantee that he's either gonna land on the opposite side or in the front. And in this case, he's gonna land on the opposite side. And so we get to set up the manip from this side.
Now the robot's taking a beating out there.
It's really weird trying to bowl him when you're on the conveyor belts. So I honestly like whenever he's in the front because there's not a conveyor belt and you could just bowl him while standing still. Because sometimes it can be a real pain to bowl him when he's on the sides. But he gets on the side again. Thankfully I was prepared for it. So now we get to do the last manip. So after we do that, now we're gonna bowl him and then we're done with Industrial Park. And we're gonna go Mermalair. This is Merm late. There's like a Merm mid thing, but Merm mid is way easier and doesn't include like half the stuff we do. We're gonna exit Industrial Park. And we're gonna warp to Shady Shoals. We could just walk here, yes, but like it's faster to warp. Enter Mermalair, and now we're going to just get a bunch of cruise boost. Essentially, cruise boosting is pressing the bubble bowl and the cruise bubble on the same frame. And you can store momentum and go fast. And we use it a lot in late game. There's only like 2 or 3 segments where we don't use it. So, we got a ledge grab there, that's alright, I guess. So we're gonna collect the spatula and go into the gate and go to the main chamber. And this is gonna be called Clam Skip. Clam Skip is kind of like a rough trick sometimes. There's a whole lot of components to the trick. So we're gonna jump, jump, spin, slam. And then we're gonna do a bash where we have to turn the camera to get up on this platform. After we do the bash, we're gonna come up here, bash, and I failed the trick. You have to bash on like the edge of the thing, and then you have to bash because like there's a weird wall there, and you can go into a trigger and warp yourself up there. Now we're gonna go into prawn skip. You get a cruise boost, and we go out of bounds to hit a trigger. So spam L, come out here. We're gonna get up to this little area. There's a trigger right above where you spawn that can defeat the boss for you. And this is true for the Flying Dutchman and Prawn. And so we use both of them. Now we're gonna cruise bubble the button since we didn't do Towers of Power and there's a button up here. And then we're gonna go security tunnel. In security tunnel, we get a cruise boost and then we can do some easy movement. This box doesn't like me sometimes, so cruise boosting can be kind of a pain on it. But we bash up here, jump over here, and we get to bowl the button. Unfortunately, bowling the ARF. And then we can come and collect the spatula. We're gonna move on to one of the hardest tricks in the game. This is Ballroom Clip. You essentially have to like do a bunch of stuff within a few frames. You have to like move the stick and then on the next frame do the cruise boost inputs. Well, I'm gonna miss this trick a few times because it's just, I don't get it sometimes. Well, I finally got it after about 5 or 6 tries. I didn't keep track. Now we're gonna warp back to the security system, hold the button, and then we can actually get the animations to overlap. So we get a cruise boost, and I'm way too far over, so I'm not gonna get the overlap. So I have to turn around, come over here and get the overlap again, or get this spatula. And then we're gonna go to Sand Mountain. At Sand Mountain, we're gonna get a cruise boost, and we're gonna bash up to a spatula. And then we're gonna go on to Larry Slide. We get a cruise boost, bash, come up here. Now we're gonna go to Larry Slide and pay the door. And we're gonna do something called Larry Slide Skip. Essentially, we just bowl off a ledge, and I almost didn't want to do this trick until about a month or 2 ago. My most recent PB has it. And I thought it was too difficult to do in runs, but it turns out it's like super easy. I don't know if this one will get it. This one seems a little slow. So I'm gonna do this one more time. Talk to Larry because we missed it, and then we're gonna go down again. It only loses like 15 seconds every time you miss it, so not a big deal. The trick was usually only done in like 100% in all level spatulas, but like recently it started to become an any percent thing. But we're gonna get a lot of momentum and go to the end of the slide. And the slides in this game, the timed ones only have a checkpoint for whenever you start the slide and when you end the slide. So if you activate both of those, then you can complete the slide. It's not like Mario Kart where there's like an indicator all throughout the map that you're like on the thing. We're gonna complete the slide, get a cruise boost, and we're gonna bash over the gate here. And you actually have to turn your camera or else it's like difficult. And we collect the spatula. We can go to the top and talk to Larry and get another spatula. And then we're gonna go to rock bottom. In rock bottom, it's all pretty straightforward. We're just gonna like get a bunch of cruise boosts and collect some spatulas. That's pretty much what you do in late game anyways, but get a cruise boost. We're gonna collect all of the art, and that's gonna set up for a trick called collectible counter abuse. And it's basically tricking another level into thinking we have 6 art. Or in the case of level 6 campers for Kelp Forest. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna hit the button. This one you don't need to start the slide to get the spatula. We literally just get a cruise boost and then we go to the spatula. And you can only start the slide at the beginning of the slide for any of the slides in this game. There's not a trigger like all the way around it or anything. We're gonna collect this spatula and then go to swing along spatula. For swing along spatula, we're just gonna get a cruise boost and do some movement. We don't like hit any buttons or do anything weird. We literally just bash up here. Collect the art. Here. Jump, spin, and then we get the spatula. Now we're gonna move on to the museum. So we're gonna make our way to the museum. We keep our cruise boost and collect the sock on the way. So we're gonna jump, bash, double jump, spin, come over here, and collect the spatula and enter museum when the animation's done. We're into museum and we're gonna do Spongebob Museum. Get a cruise boost, bash, slam onto the node. And we're gonna actually go through the thing by taking damage. Apparently you're invincible while you're ledge grabbing to like things that can stop you, so you only take damage. We could just go over here and collect the art. And then we can go on the teeter-totter and bash right after we fall off it. There's like 15 frames after you fall off things that you can bash, so... Yeah, and then we collect the spatula. So after we collect the spatula, we're gonna bash, slam, come up here, and we're gonna, I guess, get damage, collect the sock, and then go and collect an art. And then we're gonna warp back to where we did Sleepy Skip. And we come back here because we're gonna get a sock and we're gonna get some art. And this is again setting up for CCA. If we weren't doing CCA, this would be slow. You can actually do something called Art Glide if you're not doing CCA to get the arts back. So make sure we get grounded again because we're gonna spin, lose our momentum. Unfortunately, we missed that, so we're gonna have to re-get the cruise boost and go and get the art. Not a big deal, because we can just come up here. I'm not gonna do the same route because there might be a sleepy time there, but we're just gonna essentially do the same. This time we didn't have to slam because we made a good cycle. Then we're gonna warp to Mrs. Puff, collect the spatula for the art, and then we're gonna go to Jellyfish Fields and finish that segment out. So here what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a cruise boost again. And we're just gonna make it to the end of the we're gonna make it to the end of the caves, and we're gonna collect the spatula there. So this is a bunch of walking, but we're gonna do a bunch more in Kelp Forest and Flying Dutchman's Graveyard, which are both great segments. Let's see here. So we jump over the water, or the goo in this case, and we're gonna ledge grab into the slide and make our way to the spatula that's in the distance. I missed the ledge grab, which hasn't happened in forever. But we can come up here. I'm actually gonna get my cruise boost back because, like, whatever. It doesn't lose that much time to lose the cruise boost, but like, it's definitely not optimal. Alright, so now we're gonna bash and we're gonna try and get to the other side. We can get a ledge grab and it's pretty easy. Now we're gonna go to canyons and mesas. We get a cruise boost and we can essentially zoom through this area. So we're zooming through here. We're just gonna collect the sock, and then we're gonna move on to what I would consider the hardest part of the run, which is just the King Jellyfish fight. So we're gonna go on this pole, or this little teeter-totter. I'm gonna come and collect the spatula. Alright, so now we're gonna move on to the King Jellyfish fight. Like I said, the hardest part of the game. And here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you here. We're gonna do this, and we're done with the King Jelly fight. So now we're gonna go down a slide and collect a sock and talk to Squidward. 2 spatulas and 1 sock off the. Here we go. Now we're gonna go talk to Squidward, and then we're gonna go to Kelp Forest. But yeah, thank goodness King Jellyfish was nice to us. Alright, so now we're gonna go to Kelp Forest by warping to on top of the chum bucket and maybe skipping the cutscene. This is a bit of a tough one. Almost got it.
Here we are in.
Now we're gonna get a cruise boost and we're gonna go talk to Mrs. Puff. This is gonna set up CCA, or collectible counter abuse. So talk to Mrs. Puff. We're gonna warp here, and we're gonna go and do Kelp Vine slide skip. Alright, so we're gonna get the cruise boost, come over here and start the slide. Then we're gonna do the same thing where we end the slide at the end again. We end the slide and we're gonna warp back to the top. You can get an L control, but like I didn't get it, so I just have to warp back to the top and collect the spatula. Now we're gonna warp and we're gonna go to caves, and we're gonna warp to the beginning of caves and go to the swamps.
Hey.
And in swamps, we're gonna activate a button and do swamp cage, and we're gonna collect the spatula right here. Since the timer's so lenient, we can actually collect the spatula and get to the swamp cage in time. So we're gonna come down here, collect the spatula for cage, and then we're gonna go to Flying Dutchman's graveyard. Or actually, we're gonna do Squid's Dream. We're gonna attempt Squid's Dream sock cycle. If we don't get it, whatever, but we are like barely on the cycle right now, so. This is one of the most scary parts for like newer runners especially. And I miss that trampoline jump sometimes, so it's whatever. Just reload and retry. It's been happening a lot because I take too shallow of jumps. But we're gonna get the sock cycle and finish Squid's Dream out. Go. Now we're gonna go to Flying Dutchman's graveyard, and we're gonna start with Graveyard Lake Sock, and we're gonna do something called Pole Boost. It's essentially just a place to get a cruise boost, but it's kind of a weird place, I guess. Because it's a small hitbox. Okay, so come over here, try and get the cutscene skip and miss it. And now we're gonna move on to pole boost.
The graveyard.
For pole boost, I barely get this sometimes, so we're gonna get it. Jump, spin. We're off the cycle with the platform, so, but we're gonna get up here and get the sock, and then we're gonna use our cruise bubble to hit the button. There's like a button that lowers the goo up here, so. The next trick I'm gonna show off is called Goo Cage Bash. And it's actually a newer trick. It's only been around for probably a little over a month. And you essentially just like have to do a bunch of weird stuff, and the bash is really awkward. You can drown there, but like I missed it. Now we're gonna try and get a pole boost. Which I hate doing pole boost sometimes. It can be like the most annoying thing ever. So come down here and line ourselves up, and we can actually like bowl, and you have to like start running and then bash under the bowl to collect the spatula. And then we can go and do rock skip. I take a little bit of a safer path than most people will. But this is how rock skip is, at least how I'm gonna do it. Then we're gonna go collect the spatula. Next we're gonna go on to bungee and do the bungee spatula. We literally just walk to it. And now we're gonna set up and try and do boat bash. If not, we're gonna do wall jump skip. Boat bash is a pretty cool trick if you ask me. We're gonna get a cruise boost, and this one you have to press the cruise bubble button every time whenever you do it because it's a manual cruise boost. Or what we call an MCB. I'm actually gonna try for boat bash one more time. I'm not gonna get it, whatever. So come over here. I grinded out boat bash, but then I took a break and I kind of lost all my consistency. Alright, so now we're gonna do cannons. And we get 2 spatulas for this. Over here. We're actually gonna jump up here. I missed a spatula somewhere. Oh yeah, I missed doing CCA and I missed doing the rock bottom stuff. So after we do the cannons, I'm gonna go and do CCA. I should have done it earlier, but like I missed doing it after talking about it so much. It's no big problem though. So come and spin. This. So we're gonna go up to rock bottom and then we're gonna warp down to Kelp Forest. So we're gonna use the cruise bubble in the first frame that we load in. Nice, nice. And collect the spatula. So we're gonna get a cruise boost and we're gonna go and collect the spatula at the end of this level. And then we're gonna go and warp, or we're gonna go into the final boss. Or we actually need one more spat. So. Funny thing is, I barely know what spat we need. I'm just gonna go and do rooftops. I probably missed one and just don't care. We're gonna get cruise boost and we're gonna slam this button that I'm gonna miss. Alright, here we go. Come up here. We're gonna wait for this windmill. Collect the sock that we don't need because we already had enough. Bash. Barely make it. Bash. Slam. Spin. Double jump. Spin. Slam. Barely make it. And then come over here. And collect the spatula. Now we're gonna warp down to Patrick, and we're gonna trade to Patrick. Just do 10 socks to Patrick.
What?
I accidentally got an extra spat. That's on me. I forgot that Patrick gave 1 spat for 10 socks. So I just showed off an extra trick. Awesome job. Now we're gonna go to the final boss, and we can just destroy 2 fuses, destroy plankton, and then use some weird jump and hit the trigger above where we spawned.
The robot better change tactics and fast.
It's always better to have more than to not have enough.
That does it. SpongeBob is back in the fight.
We're gonna go way up here. And I didn't feel my controller vibrate, so I'm gonna get a spatula animation, unfortunately. And we're gonna do something called Fast Brain now. We'll get a cruise boost, double jump slam. And we're gonna go onto the TV that I just missed. Because my angle was like not enough, it was kind of bad. So we're gonna try again. Come onto the TV this time. Double jump, spin, slam. And we're gonna clip into the brain now. Come around. Ledge grab into this pipe. Bash. Ledge grab into another pipe. And come down here. And we're gonna actually ledge grab into here. And that's the time. I might have said time a little late, but that's BFBB any percent. Hope you guys enjoyed the run. It's a pretty fun time. I accidentally got an extra spat, but I showed off some more strats, so that's always better than nothing. I got a 5720. I messed up a whole lot, but that's okay. At least I got a good run. Fun time. And I believe on the last run,